What if the mental breakdown of modern life was never just a surprise, but a prophecy? We talk about anxiety like it's a glitch, depression like it's a personal defect, identity crisis like it's a side effect of too much choice. But what if none of these are bugs in the system, and all of them are symptoms of a soul sickness that ancient philosophers warned us about centuries ago? We think we're evolving, but maybe mentally we're collapsing under the weight of a freedom we were never trained to carry. The crisis of the modern mind isn't just that we think too much, it's that we no longer know how to think. Every day we scroll past thousands of images, opinions, judgments. Our nervous systems are saturated with stimulation, our minds are bombarded with contradictory narratives, and yet despite all this noise, we feel hollow, like we're drowning in information, but starving for meaning. And the ancients saw this coming. They didn't have smartphones, but they understood distraction. They didn't have online echo chambers, but they understood delusion. They didn't diagnose burnout, but they lived in times of chaos, decadence, and collapse, and they knew what kind of soul survives the storm. Let's start with one of the most brutal thinkers, Diogenes, the cynic. He walked the streets of Athens with nothing but a cloak, a staff, and a lamp. And when asked what he was searching for, he said, "An honest man." He spat on luxury, mocked the powerful, lived in a barrel. Why? Because he saw that society even then was enslaved by illusions. People traded freedom for comfort, dignity for status, truth for applause. Sound familiar? Diogenes wasn't just trolling. He was diagnosing a sickness, a detachment from what is real. A society obsessed with appearances, addicted to validation, afraid of discomfort. That's not just ancient Athens. That's now. Then there's Epicurus, often misunderstood as the pleasure philosopher. But Epicurus didn't preach indulgence. He warned that chasing pleasure blindly leads to misery. His solution? Strip life down to what actually brings peace, friendship, simplicity, self-sufficiency. He wrote that, "If you wish to be rich, do not add to your money, but subtract from your desire." In a world driven by endless consumption, his words hit like a hammer. And what about Seneca, the Stoic? A man who was once one of the most powerful in Rome, and still said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He saw that the human mind invents its own torment, that fear and longing, left unchecked, become chains. He warned of wasting time on what we cannot control, obsessing over things that don't last, losing ourselves in pursuits that bring no real peace. He didn't know Instagram would exist, but he knew that ego and comparison destroy serenity. Buddha, on the other side of the world, said something similar. That attachment is the root of suffering. That craving for pleasure, identity, permanence, poisons the soul. He left behind a palace to find stillness under a tree, and found it in letting go. All of these ancient minds from east and west circled the same truth. Modern suffering isn't new, it's just more visible. Because the real disease isn't anxiety, or depression, or burnout. It's disconnection. From the body, from nature, from silence, from death, from our own minds. We've built a civilization that rewards noise, punishes solitude, commodifies attention, and numbs emotion. No wonder we're lost. But the ancients didn't just diagnose the crisis, they offered a cure. It starts with a brutal kind of honesty. Look at your life. Not through the lens of what others think or what society sells, but through the raw clarity of silence. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you chase, and why? What do you fear, and where did that fear begin? Most people will never ask these questions, because the answers threaten the entire identity they've built. It's easier to keep running, toward productivity, towards dopamine, toward distraction, than to sit in stillness and listen. But if you want to escape the modern mind trap, you have to do what the ancients did. You have to stop performing. You have to remember what you are beneath the conditioning, not a consumer, not a content creator, not a follower, a mind, a will, a soul. Start with silence. not as an aesthetic, but as a discipline. 10 minutes with no phone, no music, no escape. Just you and your thoughts. Notice the chaos. Notice the impulse to run. That's where your real work begins. Then, reclaim your attention. Stop letting algorithms decide what you value. Curate your inputs. Choose what you feed your mind with the same care you'd use for a child. Because your thoughts shape your reality, and most of your thoughts aren't even yours. They're noise you've absorbed unconsciously. Next, question everything you've accepted as truth. That success means money. That happiness is pleasure. That popularity equals worth. These are modern myths. Ancient philosophy teaches that fulfillment comes not from addition, but from subtraction. Subtract the lie. Subtract the addiction. Subtract the mask. You will feel exposed. That's good. Vulnerability is the threshold of transformation. And then, choose your values consciously. Do not borrow them. Do not inherit them. Choose them. Choose what matters so clearly that you can suffer for it without complaint. Because meaning is not found in comfort. It's forged in commitment. Finally, return to mortality. The Stoics said, "Memento mori," remember you must die. Not as morbid despair, but as liberation. If death is certain, then pettiness is irrelevant. If time is finite, then presence becomes priceless. The modern mind crisis thrives on distraction. It dies in the face of clarity, of silence, of courage. You don't have to escape society. You don't need to move to the mountains or abandon technology. You only need to remember that you are not a machine. You are not your productivity. You are not your status. You are a conscious being with the power to choose what you pay attention to. And that, in a world that feeds on your inattention, is the most radical rebellion of all. If this message stirred something in you, subscribe and join the others who refuse to go numb. Leave a comment below. I reclaim my mind. Like and share this with someone whose soul is starving for depth. And activate the notifications, not for my sake, but for yours. So you remember in a world of endless noise to come back to the signal. Ancient wisdom wasn't lost. We just stopped listening. Now it's time to remember.